of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I've verified we have a quorum. In the agenda is discussion of COVID guidelines. We're going to allow speakers to talk for 3 minutes at a time. We ask that you come up to the front or sit there, whatever you're more comfortable with. Microphone, please. Yeah, here's the microphone. I have a list here. Would anybody like to go first? Mr. Aaron, come on up, Mr. Howell.
Aaron Howey for the record. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to the administration of the school board for the difficult work that you guys have done the past year and a half fighting this pandemic. It doesn't go unnoticed by the community. We know there's tough decisions to be made while these students are in school or out of school. So I do want to say that first and foremost. Everything I'd like to say is during our public comments, I think it's important that we keep all of our emotions in check, not to get out of line, and because this is ultimately about the students and kids and the faculty that go to our great little school that we have here. Last week, we did get a little devastating news that the school was going virtual, and we lost, of course, after-school activities, and then we also lost the in-person learning, which I think is probably the most important thing for all of the kids that are going to school. I know with a 9-year-old that's in 4th grade right now, Thursday was absolute heartache for both of us because I stayed home and helped him. And then Friday, I took him to work with me so that we could do online learning while I was still trying to work and do training myself online. I think it's very important that we work together on a plan to get these children back in school. If it's wearing masks, it's wearing masks and not quarantining how many ever students, 400, 300, whatever, because we have 10 or 15 that have COVID. I think that is a wrong decision to be made by the administration and by the school board. I think we need to take a look at that and get that back into check and more thought out number. You know, if there's a student that may have been positive for COVID and he gets tested and he has COVID, you know, maybe the group around him, not a whole class, not a whole team, vice versa. I'll also hit on the lost revenue because we're not having sporting activities. It's not just one group that's losing out, it's multiple. We're losing 2 football games over here. The band is losing revenue from that. There's no way to make up revenue that we've lost for 2 years for the band. There's no way to make up revenue for a volleyball team, football team, or anybody for the past 2 years. So I think it's very important for the mental health of the students that we get back into school, they get back to their activities, get back to seeing their friends, and we work together on a plan. That's all I have.
We appreciate you coming in, Aaron. And just to put some things in context, there's been an 80% of in-person kids. It's kind of been the rule of thumb. And Jennifer Lawyer, our elementary principal, we have basically all of our administration here, our head of nurse, head of buses, head custodians from each building, assistant principals here with us tonight as well. That if you have 20% out as a school corporation, that's when you start to look at virtual. And we were at about 27, 28% when we made that decision. Probably would have went higher the next day. We know quarantine is the issue. What we have to do is figure out how do we mitigate that. So great comment on the mask. I agree with that. Our next speaker, Chris, would you like to? Board, feel free to say when you.
Yeah, for the record, Chris Hunt, y'all know me. Kind of hard to miss. a couple things that, kind of going based on what Aaron said is, with the quarantine numbers being as high as they are, and I've talked to quite a few parents that have expressed what I think is very important. In the private industry, we don't really do contact tracing because it doesn't work. And to just kind of prove this, the two kids that had gotten the COVID-19 on the football team, they basically are quarantined. They are out that they have COVID-19. The rest of the kids, the other 72 kids that are on the football team, none of them are sick. To this day, none of them are sick. When you look at the numbers of what the COVID-19 versus quarantine, I would like to know, do you guys have those numbers? Does anybody on the board have the numbers of the COVID-19 versus the people that have been quarantined, what have been sick?
So we talked about that a little bit, Chris, and probably a hard number is probably less than 5% of those that get quarantined probably become positive. It's actually this year though, per administration, they feel like it's a little higher, but still in that probably that ballpark. Would you guys agree?
Yeah. Right. 5%. We're taking 400 kids and quarantining them for 12 kids. When you look at that number, that's what shut down the schools. And when you shut down these schools, that's what's making the kids not learn. Last year you can say, well, was it a successful year of learning? No, it wasn't. My child, which is the top of the class as a junior, and the very top of the class, he came to me and he goes, Dad, I learned nothing last year. Learned nothing. That's from him. I had a kid call me last Thursday when all this happened. He goes, hey, Coach, do we have a football game this Thursday? He's in middle school now. He still calls me Coach. I said, no. I said, it's all shut down. He said, I don't know if I can take this anymore. I said, what do you mean? He said, Coach, he goes, on the second day I got quarantined. The second day. Because I was out for 10 days. I came back. I got on the third day.
It's funny. We're at 3 minutes.
He came back. 2 days later, he got quarantined again. He's been out the entire year because I can't sit at home anymore. We've got to come up with a way of going. If we're going to go by the CDC guidelines, then those are guidelines. I don't care what's happening in Indianapolis. I don't care what's happening in Washington, D.C. We need to look at what's happening here at home. If it's about liability purposes, then SB 1 passed. If we're trying to do something that's reasonable, you're not liable. I'm not liable. I'm the president of the youth football league. We're not liable as long as we're trying to do things in a reasonable manner. So please, let's get these kids back in school. Whether it's the mask, I don't care. I hate the mask. But if it gets my kids back in school, it keeps all of our kids back in school. That's the most important thing when it comes to community. No other company that I deal with quarantine. If that was the case, none of us would be working. So thank you very much, and please consider something different here.
Yeah. Chris, we appreciate you coming in, and
Well, I just wanted to say, as a board, we had not met on that decision, and so we had the decision was made because it was on number 5, and therefore it had to be.
The numbers for the actual children that are sick, those, when you look at 400 kids, there has to be something to make that 400 kids come way down. Whether it's 48 out, whether you say okay? Unless you have symptoms, come to school, because I know how it is with all of us when we work in a private industry. Unless you have symptoms, you come to work. That's the numbers that we need to bring down to keep the kids in school. And if we have the way that this is, that's, I know that the kids that are in preschool, they work in preschool, that was a lot. So that was there a lot of COVID at the Y over here? I don't think there was. So, I mean, I get your point of that was a decision made by saying we had that many kids out, but was it because of COVID-19 or was it the quarantine? There's two different, completely different. Contact tracing is completely the reason we have 400 kids out.
Right, and I just wanted to explain that. I mean, I agree. And I think, I don't want to speak for everybody on the board, but we do believe that in person is the best. But I wanted to clarify that it wasn't like a board decision. This is our first time meeting.
Oh, okay.
We have not met on this. So this is so awesome that you came tonight so that you can be a part of this, but we need to clarify that it's something that in guidelines, just like rules are rules, and that's what we have to follow, you know, and maybe that's something that they might need to look at. And I'm not talking about our administration, I'm talking above, if that 20%, if we're hitting that 20%, and maybe there needs to be some more, maybe, I guess, wording on that to clarify the difference between, maybe, I don't know the answers on that, but that is the school boards in Indiana, my understanding, is that correct?
Yeah.
Once you hit that 20%.
20%. We signed a resolution so that our superintendent, assistant superintendent, made the decision to go virtual in the best interest of the safety of our kids at whenever we don't have to have a board meeting to do that, and that was recommended by them to do that.
And that 20% is fine.
Yeah.
But the question I have about that 20% is, if it's from contact tracing, what stops the contact tracing?
Max.
Wear a mask.
It's been mandated right now. Right now, mandated. Let's get our kids back to school tomorrow. Because I can tell you this, my kids will do whatever it takes to get back into school and to get back to playing football. And don't get me wrong, I'm not just a football guy. You know, like I said, I wasn't very good in school, to be honest with you. My kids will be the best when it comes to their academics first. And if that's what it takes to get them back in school, my youngest spends 4 hours doing busy work, learning nothing. And we've got to get them back in school, because whether it's a Zoom meeting where those kids, when they say, okay, it's 8:20, it's time to be in class, then they log on to their Chromebook and the teacher's there teaching them on the Chromebook. Whether it's that, whether it's, and I don't even want that. I want them back in school.
Right.
So please, let's mandate it. I mean, vote now.
Well, Chris, here's the thing. We want to, let's clarify this, that in the very beginning, and it wasn't just our school corporation, let's talk about the county, all 3 schools. Okay, everybody wanted to not make the mask mandate because there were so many parents that were not for it and had issues with that, okay? It is what it is, okay? So therefore, everyone thought that we did have we had a little bit of a stretch there where we felt like people were doing better and things were looking, if you will, a little bit of sunshine, right? Is that right? So therefore, you think that things might not escalate, maybe not till at least till December or January when it's closed up. You feel like you've got a little more in the summer, right? Well, it did, our numbers did go higher than what even the health department said, that they did not expect this early. Okay, they expected these numbers later on possibly. So therefore, in that, we opened school up and it is what it is. So therefore, meeting tonight and hearing this and explaining to and letting the public know that we have tried the non-mask mandate, and we did try to do it that way, but we can see that maybe it's not which way to go. I mean, I think so people have to understand from our point of view, because our concern, everybody on this board, are the children and our staff. I mean, you know, and that's what we were voted in to do, and to make sure that everybody stays healthy and not be reckless in any shape or form. And so that's where our administration has that power to do that. And they did what they had to do.
And I completely understand that. but if a mask are the answer, and if Johnny gets sick, and Jack's sitting beside of him, Jack goes home too. That's correct? That's
Without a
the
mask.
point.
Without
That's contact tracing. If both of them have masks on, does Jack and Johnny still go home?
No.
There's your answer.
It is our answer. And Chris, I appreciate your passion.
Absolutely.
And I agree with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
I don't really care what any parents say. I mean, I hate these more than anybody else. And the only thing I have all our house.
Can we have your
that's
phone
all
number?
away.
We'll just direct them right.
You know, I don't like them either.
Yeah.
But if it's what, you know, whatever it takes.
Well, I think what our plan is at this point, we kind of were reacting to this. We want to be a little more proactive this time and understand that they may not be put to bed yet. In one case, maybe be a little quicker to react to things. And I think that's going to take a little time to plan here. But we have setback to be able to move their still road. Don't have to have this situation here and get her in.
The one thing of it, we don't make this happen, but we get we can. And not here to say it will stop. Does a lot of that, but we want to open it up for everybody to have a voice. We appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Our next,
Thank you.
yeah, no, thanks for coming. We appreciate you. Matthew, do you want to talk?
Thanks for opening up. First of all, my name's Matt Wagner. I have a daughter that's a junior here that got caught up in the contract racing. I have talked to Robbie all about this. And they got up with this contract. And my ask was keep that on board. I'll be here. I stated to them, we got crazy there are areas that are unmasked and they're going to get caught up with contract racing. I don't know how we go with that community, but so they get home for 48 hours and they come back. And I can't to that, but let's be realistic. We're laying it in our lives, and this is our community. And like Chris said, I kind of told him that today. I don't care what happens in Annapolis, and I don't care what happens in Washington, D.C., but I do care what happens in Washington County. This is my home. That's why I come back here. So anything I can do to help, I will. You know that. So if we can get it opened up, and if it's a mass thing, so that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you, Matt.
Matthew, we appreciate you reiterating that. It's something we ask her to remind us that might let us out. We know in the state of adjusted. As far as that goes. But what all give you that mask in school. But if I be up to administration, our food, lunch, practice, classes are the three exposures that masks may not help, because they're going to be sitting on top of each other on the bus, because we're short bus drivers and we've had to combine routes. Practices, they're going to take their mask off, and it's just the way it is. And at lunch, they got can eat through a mask. Both my daughters have been quarantined. One's a fourth grader, one's a sixth grader. My fourth grader wears her mask, and I said, "You always wear your mask." And she said, "But we take them off at the table." So we're not going to fix everything with masks. It's not going to happen. There's still going to be certain small groups of quarantine with that. You guys have any comments?
Well, I do want to clear something else too. Something else, this is just good information to know, that even if it wasn't COVID, let's say it was the flu, or anything, if there's 20%, that 20% is for, that's set for any school, like tragedy, so to speak, you know what I'm saying, problems.
Right, well, with the
So,
flu.
like the flu, if it was the flu,
There was no contact tracing.
no,
All
but,
been
right.
sick, they were out.
But
We've
if it
been
was,
there. We've all been there.
right,
We know we've been through the flu I've been doing a few years ago, and kids were out.
but if we'd hit that, we didn't hit it, but if we'd hit that 20%, then, and I have heard of other schools doing that, where maybe they had like the stomach bug or a flu, where they've hit that 20%. So I just want to clarify that too, that's something that was, that was the percent.
Right, and I'm completely fine.
I just want, yeah. Something that-
That's fine.
And I will say, I'm out because online always says, "I understand me." It's in next meetings, so I want them to understand me. So, and we're 3 feet away from each other. Our next speaker, Mr. Subak, you can sit there if you'd like.
I don't really have anything to add based on what's been said, so I'm not just going to take time. I will just say one thing quickly.
Yes.
We all know that the board has a great responsibility. I don't even need to say that, but I said it. What we also all know is that our youth, our children, need to be in school. They have been hurt, and they are being hurt. I don't know how you make up for what's lost, but I wish I had a solution that I could say, hey, do 1, 2, and 3, and I don't. So I appreciate what you're going through, and I support you. But again, just emphasizing how very, very, very important it is to do whatever is possible to get the kids in school.
We appreciate you as always, Mr. Subak, being here and supporting us. That's the only 4 speakers I had. Would anybody else like to speak? Anybody from the board would like?
I just want to thank our, because I've seen your passion, and they all, are wanting, there's something we're all saying. Everything to the table was very good, and it should be there. And I think you expressed yourself very well and very professional. We appreciate that. Thank you.
So, Rodney, I have something. We kind of talked about the elementary with the lunch, but the middle school and the high school.
I think plan for high school to go back to 3 lunches.
Right now, we're gonna look at 2 and see if we can bring the overflow in here first before we look at 3.
Okay. Mr. Robertson, we've discussed yours too, but you want to share anything?
Yeah, we're in the process of rearranging the cafeteria, adding some plexiglass, and we'll have to use our bathroom as an overflow in order to meet a little bit more distance.
Does that answer that question, Becky?
Yeah.
I think what all of you will find is that our plan will support what you guys came here for, and wholeheartedly, we want kids in school. It's foremost, but we also want a safe environment, not just for them, but for our faculty and staff as well. there's nobody else who would like to say anything. Administration, anybody from our admin? Mark, go ahead.
I appreciate everybody coming and speaking. I think the biggest thing that we need to do is make this a community effort. Everyone work together. I said not so many words earlier. This isn't the best situation in the world, but everybody's dealing with it on some level. I think it's not going to be easy for anybody to deal with any of this. It hasn't been for the last year and a half. But to minimize it is about the best we can do at this point. And the more support, the more we function as a team and try to get through this, the better off it's going to be for the kids. Because like everybody says, the kids are watching us and how we react to these things. And I think it's very important that they see us band together and support one another. So, and it's important to other communities to see that there is actually a community that's on the same page, because we all know we haven't seen a lot of communities on the same page. So I'm very impressed and very proud that Salem can do that. And I think we can do that.
Yeah, and there's some things going forward, further that Mr. Tedrow, which one of you? Mr. Tedrow, Aaron here, he's a parent. He contacted me a week ago. He's contacted me before with information, great to talk to. He's a resource. But going further for the week that we're out, and we need to have something for those parents that got to work and a place for them to go. He's gave us some contacts. We're going to work for them. So some of the things, should we ever have to do this again, and I hope that we don't. But if we do, there's some resources that we could reach out to and be a little more proactive about. And we're working on that. And I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming tonight as well. Our plan it'll come out with Tuesdays when we come back to school. I assure you that it'll mimic what you guys have come in here to support. It's really the only thing that we can do. If nobody has anything else, I'm going to ask for a motion. Please.
I'll make the motion.
Becky makes the motion.
Second.
Allison seconds. All those in favor?